Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
Trust in Messiah. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Freddie Rivas. And who, sir, are you?
Well, I'm known around these parts as the producer. You can call me Matt. Fred, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, especially since you're from the West, it seems. Old-timey Matt, for anyone who doesn't know. He's my Matty D. He's a legend. He's a producer of the pod. He also guested on this episode. It was great.
I did.
I'll just, for anyone that's, jumping into this pod first time, we are a Raptors / NBA pod. We have comedians, analysts. Me and Matt are both actors and do wear a lot of artistic hats because we live in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks for joining the podcast. Today is a really good one. I'll get to it in just a sec. But Matty, if people want to know how to help us, how to make the podcast grow, support local Canadian artists, how can they do that?
Come check out our website at dunkspodcast.com. That will give you everything you need to support us. It's got our links for our podcatchers, which is the most important. We want you subscribing. We want you rating on those things. And then, once, a new episode comes out, boom, it's right in your little app there. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to search for it. You can just have a lovely time. And then, I think some of them even set up that once you're done listening, it just deletes the bloody thing from your phone. So you don't even have to worry about all that memory. But yeah, if you'd like to do it the old-fashioned way, go to dunkspodcast.com. We do have the episodes there that you can listen to on our site, as well at the sonarnetwork.com. That is our podcast network that we are a part of. And you can listen to them there, as well as all the other great podcasts that we have on the network. It is quite a mix. The last thing I'll say, we got toques. Winter ain't over yet. I checked the forecast. We're supposed to get some freezing rain. Everybody out there, please be careful. Coming this Wednesday and Thursday, it could be a little nasty out there. So make sure you've got a toque on. We've got the toques. You can buy them. Message us. We'll send you the toque. If you do get the freezing rain, you know what? It's not going to stick to your head. It's an anti-freezing rain, anti-itch toque. It actually melts. It does something with the heat from your head that it does not allow it to freeze. I don't know the technology. I just know it's up there with like Elon Musk type of stuff.
Whoa.
So yeah, anyway, if you do feel the need, I hope you've been enjoying the Patreon content. And if you want to support us, you can check us out at our Patreon as well. That'd be fantastic.
Matt, you're a legend, letting people what they need to know. I really like the freezing rain toque angle this time. And as Jimmy Butler says, pressure either makes diamonds or bursts pipes. So maybe we could add to that. Although that is true, if you had a toque, you could put it in the pipe and it would fix everything. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but here we are. Let's just talk about this pod a little bit, or this episode. The guests are the one, the only Matty Duncan. He jumps in, and also Cathryn Naiker, who you know from the pod for sure. She also has her own pod, Buckets and Tea, a WNBA pickup podcast with me, and loads of other stuff. She's a busy comedian. She's writing. She's killing it out there.
Yeah.
But so's Matty, by the way. Okay, so check out the boys. Check out some of Matty's work. Okay,
check out American Gothic.
There you go. Check out a commercial with Mike Myers a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Sidney Crosby, Mike Myers, what's up?
Let's go, Sidney. Let's go, Mike. But really, really fun pod. We talk about Thaddeus Young. We talk about Siakam, not getting into the All-Star. We talk about James Harden's paperwork and other weird like hang-ups that have happened in sports.
Yeah.
And we also talk about the big trade. Ben Simmons for James Harden, as well as Seth Curry's in the mix, Andre Drummond. So it's a big trade, and it's fun to talk about. And before we do jump into the pod, if you listen to this pod all the time, you'll know that I usually say Black Lives Matter, defund the police, stop Asian hate, and email your city councilors. And me and Matt have talked about this before. I don't want anything I'm saying to be too rote or kind of like, feels like I'm just saying it to say it. So I'm not going to say that every intro, but I am going to speak out, and so is Matt. And also, if you listen to this pod, know that, we believe Black Lives Matter. We believe defund the police. And I think particularly with what's going on right now in Canada, obviously we are very much against this occupation of Ottawa. I'm feeling for all the people I know in Ottawa. It's been a horrible time. So if you're down with that, then you shouldn't be down with us. And so just know that. And we want to make sure our approach is fresh here. And we're on the pulse, and we don't want to say things just to say them, but we do believe in those things. And also know we're always down for feedback. So you can email us, you can tweet at us, whatever. If you think there's something we're not addressing, we're happy to hear it. And I think with that, Matt, we're good to go. And if you feel like we're good, we're ready to go, please just give me those words I love so much. Okay. Okay, let's get popping here. That was me trying to sound cooler than I actually am. No worries. This is it's gonna be a fun pod. I got my super guest. She's done the pod a million times. Always happy to have her back. We run our own podcast together, the WNBA podcast, The Pickup. She's also a writer on Son of a Critch, Mr. D, formerly This Hour. She's with Raptors Republic. She's an incredible stand-up. Just like, credits galore. She's incredible. Always lucky to have her. Give it up as loud as you can, even if you're at home alone, for Cathryn Naiker.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
We are here. We're holding it down. Boom.
We're absolutely holding it down. We may have a late guest showing up, but we also may not. And we're comfortable together. Cathryn, what's up? How are you?
Doing great. How are you doing, Freddie?
I'm good. I got my, DeRozan jersey in the back here.
Nicely framed. It looks like a frame for like a vinyl record.
Yeah, it's I mean, it was sort of a gift. Like, I got the jersey from
but I love it.
Curling tournament, and Caitlin's like, I'm gonna frame this for you. And went to a framing store. So
oh, how nice. I mean, I think DeRozan, did he not attempt a rap career or something, or rapping at some point?
I don't remember, but I
feel like he did. He made an attempt.
He's from Compton. I mean,
maybe it was just like a little mixtape situation.
I know that like rappers think he's cool. There's the famous like Vince Staples interview where Vince Staples is like, the one person you don't mess with, DeMar DeRozan. and the person interviewing is like, why? And Vince Staples is basically just like, no more questions. It's really good.
It's like he'll throw
He's
one
connected.
of his 600 pairs of shoes at you.
Yeah, it's basically like a shoe gun. So
yeah.
All right, let's start talking some ball. Maddie, good sir, why don't you give me your most experimental, delicious, fun sounding Raptors sting. For the win! Sick. That was kind of sick, right? Cool. Cathryn, let's jump right into it. The deadline's like a little bit over, but give me your thoughts on Thad Young, like the acquisition, and also if you watched any of the disaster of a game yesterday.
Oh my God.
Your thoughts on like his first time seeing him on the court.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny, right? Because it's like the trade deadline is over, but the hangover is not. Like it was just such a wild trade deadline that we're just not completely over all that happened. Like last night's game was such a disaster. I'm almost positive that they just partied way too hard in New Orleans and just like, just took a real L. Like I just think that was just, it's mid-February. The All-Star break's coming up. We can't wait to have a week off. And they just partied way too hard, didn't take the team seriously, and got their asses kicked. I don't know if we can read into the trade at all based on that game.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. So my interpretation of getting Thaddeus Young is really that this is, to me, this is about us doubling down on our investment in Precious Achiuwa, right? They thought if we get a veteran guy who can help Precious with his game, that somebody he can talk to, learn from, maybe build, just like to me, I just feel like Precious really struggles with his consistency or lack of consistency. And I think that is how I'm interpreting this. Because even like when Kyle left and we got Goran Dragic and Precious Achiuwa, I felt like that was always about getting Precious. You know what I mean? And Goran was just like, they had to include him for the numbers and this, that, and the other. So that's kind of how I see it. If we've improved our bench without getting rid of our top 6 guys, I think that's, you got to consider it a win. I was kind of surprised that Raptors fans were really upset about it. I think maybe people were overestimating Goran Dragic's trade value, frankly, at this stage in his career. I mean, when we did play him this season, he really was not good. So the limited minutes he did have on the court really didn't do him or us any favors. Plus, it's like everybody knows he's in Miami for whatever reason, and he's not even with the team.
Yeah.
They know that we have to get rid of him, and that if we don't, it's a buyout. So really, like, we're not trading from a position of real leverage, right? In a situation like that. So I think it is what it is. I think fans are just being, I don't know. I think they were maybe a little too cocky about what we had as a trade asset with Goran Dragic, but I'm fine with it. Maybe I just didn't expect a ton. It's nice that we got something instead of nothing, so to speak. And hopefully he is a nice fit for the rest of the season and, helps with the balancing some minutes going down the stretch here.
Well said. Like, I agree with everything. So many good points. I'll touch on the Precious point in a sec, because I think that is really interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but in regards to Dragic, I think that's sort of part of this idea that every time Masai does everything, he should be going for a home run, and B, like, fans kind of expect him to constantly just like have home runs, and they don't really get the whole, not everybody, but like they do, it's not exciting to hit a single and a double and a single and a double and sort of just like incrementally get better. It's just not that flashy, right? So from that perspective, I think, people, they're hearing the deadline, they think about all these different possibilities, like on this pod, right? I've stressed patience and like incrementalism, but even still, I definitely fall victim to this idea that, okay, yeah, you do this and you attach Boucher and a pick and Flynn, and then like it's all these like crazy machinations, but which I'm sure were on the table, and Bobby talked about it a little bit in his presser, and Masai as well. But I think if that deal wasn't there, they weren't going to take it. And as it stood, Dragic was kind of a nothing for the team, and we got kind of a something for the team. The picks were pretty negligible. When I saw a first round pick, I was kind of like, oh no. but we're getting the Pistons pick back. So really it's like 10 picks down the line. Spurs are going to get the like 22nd pick. We're going to get like the 31st pick or something. So
that is the more controversial part of this deal, right? Is the first round pick. 10 spots down the line, it's not nothing.
It's
right?
True. You're right. It is not nothing.
And the Pistons are not good this season, but I mean, they go on a little run here and suddenly it's like 12 picks down the line or whatever, right? Like, so I don't know. Like, I think it just says a lot about how they want to build this team. You know what I mean? That that my feeling is, because like opening game this season, Masai's on the broadcast at some point, like second quarter or something. And he tells everybody like, hey, look, this is a rebuilding year, right? And now I think they're looking at it like, okay, we're ahead of schedule here. Maybe we aren't, gonna lean as heavily on the draft this year like we thought. And that's why they decided to trade the pick. I trust this team in the draft almost no matter what pick they have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think like all of this really comes down to like, is Precious Achiuwa going to become the player they want him to be, really?
Well, and okay, yeah. So I'm glad you brought Precious up again, because I think I don't even know how to articulate this perfectly, but there's something about Masai and Bobby and Nurse and this franchise that when they get a player, it's not like be good or we'll kick you out of town. They get a player like Precious and they're like, okay, seems like you're struggling here. Let's bring in a vet like Thaddeus Young. He'll teach you how to bust up a zone. He'll teach you how to not bite on every pump fake. He'll kind of teach you some of the basics. You have the skills. So I feel like that investment is always there. Like they don't trade, like the watching, we talked about it last week, but like watching a place like Sacramento trade Halliburton, it's like that's like unheard of in the Masai era. Like he values what he has, and he's not just trying to, flip cards to try and hopefully game the system. It's like he's willing to work to make it work. And Maddie, I don't know if you're listening, but actually I wouldn't mind your take in this too, if you want to pop in.
Yeah. First thing I will say, and it was very telling with Fred's reaction to it, was I'm paraphrasing, but he's just like, you know what? I'm just glad we're getting a guy in who wants to play and getting rid of a guy that's just sitting at home doing nothing.
Yeah, he didn't mince words there, eh?
Yeah, no, and I love that about Fred, because it is a bit of a shitty thing. I think the best thing that we can hope for. I don't think any of us expected him to come in that game yesterday and get 20 points or anything. But like it's the leadership that he can bring. Hopefully a little bit of spice to the bench. It's a little shaky over there, so maybe he can even just run that bench. And like talk to Flynn, talk to Champagne, and
he was talking to them.
Yeah,
well, he's been talking to him.
Here's the other thing too about this whole like. Just looking at the trade tree for Kyle and stuff, it blows my mind that we even got anything for Kyle. It's just like you don't really see it in other sports, like definitely not in the NHL, like these sign and trade things when you've got like a big player that wants to leave. Usually they just leave and you get nothing. So it's like, I think that, like if this could have been a situation when there was nothing and we just watched Kyle walk onto that team. So if we, give Precious some time, what do we have to lose here, really? Right? Like, give him a couple of seasons at least. I know it's like he's young. It's hard to see the way he's been playing this year for the team. It's just not as hopeful as we would have liked. But I think that, get him into the Raptor system for a couple of years and he might blossom. So,
yeah, I think you're right. And, the defense is sort of already there with Precious, at least the strength. I think, a couple weeks ago, he was the best rim protector on the team. So I don't know if that's changed or whatever, but yeah, there's some signs. I feel like I'm not the first person to say this, but he truly does have some of the loudest offensive mistakes I've ever seen. So from a fan perspective, like I get it, because it's like he's definitely been blocked by the rim, I don't know, 10 times. Like, so there's a lot of precious stuff where you're like, oh my God, dude. But yeah, I think, just a couple things on Thaddeus as well, that I feel like are important. A mentor to OG Anunoby, which is significant. And then also, he was one of the runner-ups for Sixth Man of the Year last year for Chicago. So this is a guy that I think really does bring a certain, maturity and like rounded skill set. I will say, and I feel like I'm always super pro Masai and pro Bobby, but I do feel like we've put Nurse in a situation where we just didn't really bring him a veteran shooter. And I don't quite understand why. I just feel like, and Blake Murphy said this on the Will Liu and Alex Wong pod, but are we going to play Champagne anymore? Are we going to play Malachi, Svi, Utah? Like, are we going to allow some guys the opportunity to like hit some shots? Or are we just going to play like 4 bigs off the bench? Like, that seems like not doable. I'm not sure. It's a funky team. It's a funky team, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know what their plan is. I don't know why Svi has been so buried on the bench recently. I'm also surprised that we still have Malachi. Like, I thought Malachi was for sure going to be on the trading block there, but but I think Masai spoke actually quite fondly of Malachi in his presser.
He did, yeah.
And I think again, like, we're just kind of learning more and more philosophically what this team believes in and how they want to build. And it does look weird. He did refer to Nick Nurse as a mad scientist, I want to say.
He did, yeah.
And that is like it's a compliment, but it's also like, okay, just because I can be a mad scientist doesn't mean I need to be all the time. It's like when you show initiative at your job and then they're like, cool, that's just also part of your job now.
Yeah, totally.
It's very that.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh crap, you mean I have to keep doing this? So yeah, I agree. But I also think it's like, I think we're getting carried away because the team was on such a great winning streak and we're doing so well that we're getting back into this like playoff mindset with this team. But that wasn't ever the original goal. So I don't know. It is, like you said, it's gonna be a funky year. It's gonna be a funky time. Put on the funk music, I guess.
Bring the funk. And to your point, to Masai's point, it is important to reiterate that this is like a growing year. And I think it was important to me that he also said, like, someone, I think Eric Kareen brought up like the timeline question, and he didn't like poo-poo it, but he was sort of like, Pascal and Fred are 28. They have like potentially 3 or 4 all-star years in a row. Like, don't worry about the timeline. Like, it's actually, if Fred and Pascal were 32, 33, same age as Thad, it would be like, oh, there's a bit of a gulf here. But it's like, these guys are playing great. This is all like, nothing's a problem here. The core is good. I've been saying that from the beginning of the year. Like, our core 5, we have something here. And I think you got to tinker with it and understand that this is a development year. Masai prioritizes development and winning, but I think this year is sort of like 65% development, 35% winning. So it's
and everyone knew that coming into it too.
Yeah, totally. But also the Raptors are pretty good, and it's not a big surprise to me. I picked them for 6 in the East. I think that we're a franchise that just is more competent than a lot of other franchises. You can't say I'm surprised that New York and Washington have went belly up. This is sort of what the Eastern Conference does. To me, it's almost more surprising that Chicago and Cleveland are good than, versus like a bunch of Eastern Conference teams not being good. Like, that's what I expect.
1,000%.
I expect Charlotte to go poorly at some point this year. Like, that's just kind of how the Eastern Conference works. But yeah, let's move on to All-Star. And I think we got to talk Pascal. We got to talk this like Jarrett Allen thing. Matt, please stick around because I'd love to have your take as well. But Yeah, just Cathryn, like, do you think this Jarrett Allen over Pascal thing is a like a snub or a robbery? And also, like, where do you see Pascal right now, like among his peers in the NBA?
Yeah, this is actually a really good question. I think it's a little more debatable than it might appear. So initially, I was not surprised. And I actually, I apologize. I meant to look this up prior and I didn't. But so Cleveland now has 2 All-Stars, correct?
Yes. So they have Darius Garland, who's having a great year, and
yeah. No, sorry. So they have Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen, and they're what placement are they in the East currently? Are they like?
Let me just look. I feel like they're like.
Are they
third?
like? Yeah, I was gonna say they're third or second, maybe.
They are third, but like they're only a half game up on the Bucks and the Sixers, so they're pretty close to being in 5th as well.
Right.
But it's all tight up there. So
I think I love Pascal. I would have loved to see him there, but there's something about this that just feels very valid to me. But Freddie, I want you to tell me I'm wrong. I have not looked up. I so sorry. I have not looked up Jarrett Allen's numbers to be like Pascal is just destroying this guy. I think the issue with Pascal and like so much of this all-star stuff is really narrative based. And that is, it took him a while to get to this place. Now, obviously that had to do with injuries and stuff like that. But I mean, if he started out like this from the beginning, there's no doubt he would be there. It's just, it takes people a long time to catch on unless you're in LA or New York or something like that. That's just kind of how it is.
Yeah. My initial kind of like gut instinct was sort of, the Pascal had missed too many games and, this is not really a snub. This is sort of like Raptors fans just like getting mad. Digging into the numbers a little bit, I do think that it's like a bit more of a compelling case for Pascal. However, it's not Jarrett Allen's fault that Pascal had a shoulder surgery and had a slow start and the Raptors were like under 500 for some period of time. The Raptors are also like not dominating the East. So it's not like, oh my God, they don't have 2 All-Stars. It's like, yeah, of course we don't have 2 All-Stars. We're in 8th place, and I get that Pascal is playing like an All-Star, but also it's a reputation thing, right? Like, kind of like you're saying with New York, Toronto. It's not as if Pascal's Jimmy Butler, where year in, year out, he's an all-star. So if he misses 20 games, people are kind of like, well, he's still an all-star. Like, we know who he is. Last year, even though Pascal had pretty incredible numbers, he wasn't an all-star. He didn't deserve it. Didn't make the team. So I do think that there's kind of like, as far as the narrative arc, it makes sense to me. And also, I kind of like it as a Raptors fan because I do think it even puts Pascal like further in the camp of like be undeniable, like just continue being undeniable, just kill the rest of this season. Like if he makes all NBA this year, he will be an all-star period next year because the whole narrative will be like, oh my God, this guy wasn't an all-star, but he was on the all NBA, which is harder to get on. So yeah, I think it's like, and also Jarrett Allen, like, has been good, like not out of control good. Like he's 16 points, 11 rebounds, good defense. He's also got Mobley. So I think, it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's not that egregious in my opinion. Maddie, what's your kind of like snap take on this?
I'm going to give Silver the benefit of the doubt and just say that he looked at it and it was because of the time missed due to his injury that, Jarrett Allen got picked. Allen's only 23 years old. He's got a lot more years where he could possibly be an all-star again. And I just feel like Pascal, where he is, we're in his prime years right now. I just feel like he deserved it more, but I guess it was the injury thing. I'm going to believe that it was, but it is also just, part of the story for the Raptors that the respect that the league gives us is a little bit lacking sometimes. So, but it seems kind of like, I almost like it better that way sometimes, where it's like, we've got these really good players who are definitely like stars and can play with all these other players in the league, and they constantly have to just believe in themselves and, you know, not rely on praise and accolades to you know, ignite their game to a higher level.
I'll say it. We need a new We the North. We need like an updated We the North. That's like same energy, different slogan. We need a re-injection of this era. I honestly, I've been comparing this season since close to the beginning of the year to the season where the Rudy Gay trade, the first year we made Brooklyn, lost in 7. It was heartbreaking, but we realized like we had something.
Yeah.
That's the energy for me. I think we're very far away, right? Like that was like 5-6 years before we won the championship, but this is the season where it's like, no, like get out of here if you're trying to trade Pascal or Fred. Like this is for real what we have.
Yeah.
But
we might even be closer than we were that year.
I think we are. Yeah. Okay, let's talk some NBA. I was gonna say, let's fire up that sting, but Maddie, if you would, please, good sir, give me your most delicious, weird Adam Silver sounding sting.
This is Adam Silver.
New. Let's go to you first, Maddie. And this is a kind of a weird question, but I'm curious to see what you both have. So, you know, and we'll get to the big trade, but in the Harden Simmons deal, I guess like Harden didn't fully opt in to his deal, and there was some kind of like paperwork holdup. And you know, it seems like it can be worked out in the summer, but it also seems like there's an off chance that this causes like some financial issues. And it just kind of got me thinking, like, you know, about times when you know something's about to happen and then you know it doesn't happen for some weird reason or technicality, and yeah, it just reminds me of like how kind of fragile all these things are, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes. So yeah, and also I should say, I think a part of this is that Harden handled this whole situation without an agent, which is kind of significant. So
wait,
It's
sorry.
the Bill Murray of the NBA.
Do you mind if I ask just a bit of background before? I know you're asking Maddie the question first, but so when he was traded to Philly, he was meant to opt in for an extension and now has not. And on top of that, he does not have an agent. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, that is what I'm saying. I might have some of the details. Here we go.
I didn't know that. Sorry.
Let me just read this because this is what I'm going off of. James Harden did not officially opt into his deal for the 2022-23 season before being traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, a source confirmed to The Athletic. The paperwork was filled out, but they did not meet the buzzer for the opt-in, said Shams Charania on the Real Ones podcast. He still has the option to opt in the summer. There was a time period where he could have opted in conjunction with the trade. They ended up not filling the paperwork in time, so a little bit of procedural situation with the paperwork. So yeah, like it just makes me think that perhaps this wasn't done perfectly. And yeah, I'm just kind of curious what that inspires in you guys. So Matt, is there a situation where you're like, yeah, everything was like chugging along and then all of a sudden it didn't happen, and you know?
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind, now this isn't a basketball take, this is a hockey take, so bear with me. This happened in the summer of 2001 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. There was a player, someone that the fans loved to just, you know, pummel with with critique.
We're talking Matt Sundin here?
We're talking his buddy, Jonas Hoglund. And so Jonas Hoglund, you know, he was kind of, he got to play with Matt Sundin, which was incredible. And he had a couple good seasons with him. But in the summer of 2001, he was traded to Boston for like a prospect, but something happened with the fax machine and it canceled
Yes.
the trade, and it never happened. So like he was told, he's like, you've been traded, and he
Yes.
said his goodbyes to the team.
This is what
And
I'm
then
talking
this
about.
fax machine something
Fax
screwed
machine.
up,
Yeah.
and they're like, the fax screwed it up, and it's not happening now. And so he had to go back to the team. And then just for context, this is summer 2001. So he's coming into camp being like, they don't want me here. Then 9/11 happens, just as that mental thing to deal with. And then again, later in the year in December, the Leafs tried to do this huge, massive trade for Vincent Lecavalier.
Okay.
And he was going to be included in that trade along with Thomas Cabriolet and Nick Antropov, which would have been a really huge trade. But that also fell through at the last minute. So
oh my God.
within
yes.
these like 4 months on technicalities, Hoglund just, got the brunt of it. And, his career was over shortly after that.
Oh my God. What a sad story. But also, this is what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, it's insane to me that these kind of things like actually happen. So mine is basketball. But Cathryn, do you want to go first, or should I drop mine?
I'm just in shock by the story Matt just told us. Like, oh my God. Also, like 2001, like we had email. You know what I mean? Like the whole time I just had like Bernie Sanders like voice in my head. Like this could have been an email. There's no reason that had to be a fax even then. Also, somebody who worked as an admin assistant for years, I can't tell you how many times I blamed a machine for a mistake I made. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you dial the wrong number. Like when you send, like this ages me, but I have had to send faxes in my lifetime. You send a fax, you get a confirmation fax. There's a thing that comes out to say your fax went through. And then if it doesn't go through, you send it again or you call. These are human errors. But anyway,
I'm once again asking you to stop using faxes.
Yeah. For me, the ultimate for me that I thought of with this is an NBA example.
Okay.
Is the Chris Paul to the Lakers trade that never happened.
Yes. Oh,
right.
Yes.
I don't even actually remember the exact technicality. Obviously, Stern vetoed this trade.
Yes.
And then he ended up going to the Clippers, and it changed, a huge chunk of the following decade in the NBA in a really significant way. I mean, it's a great NBA what if. What if Kobe and Chris Paul and Pau Gasol got to play together? Like does Kobe win more rings? What does that mean for his legacy, the Lakers' legacy? What does that mean for the Clippers? Are the Clippers even a franchise? Like Chris Paul and Blake Griffin were really the thing that made the Clippers completely legitimate. They were they were a deeply illegitimate franchise for many, many decades. There was a brief moment like when like Lamar Odom was a rookie and they had kind of like a fun, exciting team, but they weren't like a playoff team.
Odom and Darius Miles, for anyone watching on YouTube, this. That was what they did when they did something cool. The weird head gesture.
Yeah, I mean, in the years that I've watched the NBA, so that's going back to like the late 90s to now, like, and even before that, like the Clippers don't have a significant history. So it was just like David Stern would just do shit, frankly, to manipulate the league, to make it more exciting. He realized that if the Clippers weren't going to be legitimate, they might be, I don't know if they'd be done, but he had to do something with that franchise, and he did. I don't know what excuse they used, but definitely this is like some major like presidential veto, finger on the button kind of stuff here.
Okay, Cathryn, we were talking about like Masai before, singles and doubles. This is the home run for the question.
No, I'll never get over the education that Matt just gave me.
Yeah, fair enough. You know what? Yeah, okay. Matt's isn't a home run. Matt's just like you meet someone outside of the baseball diamond and they like give you a winning lottery ticket. And
sure, yeah.
Guess I'm not going to watch the game. But I don't know, weirdest analogy ever. But just to add some fun context to what you were saying, Cathryn. So Stern had basically taken over the Pelicans, or the what was their name at the time? Before they were the Pelicans, is the Hornets?
They were Hornets, yeah.
And Hurricane Katrina had happened, I think, not too long before this, and with Chris Paul demanding a trade, it was like full crisis mode, and he personally vetoed that trade. So it was like, that is a crazy technicality. And to your point, that was like the Stern era was like him just doing stuff. For anyone that's watched, watch like the Jermaine O'Neal, like Malice at the Palace doc, you're reminded that when Stern gave out the punishments in the interview, they asked him, like, who decided all of these, like the dates and the punishments or whatever. And he was just like, it was a party of one, me. And then all of the journalists are basically like, I'm scared now. Are you going to kill me? I'm sorry I asked. Like, that Stern's whole energy was just like, listen, I make the rules and that's how life is.
Like, you walk into David Stern's office and there's just monitors that have Scarface on, that like on mute.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's just like on repeat.
He's like, say hello to my little friend, but it's actually a converter, and he's like, it's really important because I got to control the channels. Okay, mine is, and Raptors fans, who are old school are going to remember this as, affiliated with the pre-Masai times, because this kind of shit does not happen with Masai and Bobby. But the Raptors, pretty sure it was still Brian Colangelo, attempted to trade for Matt Barnes. And I'll read it to you in just a second. But basically, we tried to get him from the Orlando Magic, and both the Magic and the Raptors did not do the math properly, and the trade fell through.
Oh,
literally, the trade was agreed upon. So let me just read you this. According to Yahoo Sports, the deal would be worth $9 million over 2 years, including a player option for 2011, 2012. But the Raptors are out of cap room and already have used their mid-level exception this offseason to acquire Linus Kliza as a restricted free agent from the Denver Nuggets. Therefore, the Raptors don't have the ability under league rules to pay Barnes $4.5 million a year. So they lost Barnes. It fully fell through. Just another shout out. We almost got Tyson Chandler for Jose Calderon, but last minute Michael Jordan was like, actually no. So that's another weird Colangelo era thing. But
Amazing.
yeah, so we lost Matt Barnes because someone didn't use an Excel spreadsheet properly or something, which it just feels like a different time, honestly.
Hey man, Excel's hard, like
I hear that.
Struggle with Excel.
Yeah, no, Excel's hard. Like, why can't I populate the cell? All that kind of stuff. Okay, let's move on. Let's just talk about this big trade. In my mind, in my viewing of the NBA, it's pretty close to the biggest trade I've ever seen. And I don't know where to rank it exactly. I'm sure there's a lot of factors, but just the types of caliber players changing hands. You got a former MVP, former runner-up defensive player of the year in Simmons. You got Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, I guess, is sort of insignificant here, but I think the Nets also gave away
2 first-round picks to Brooklyn.
2 first-round picks to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the Sixers gave 2 first-round picks to Brooklyn. Right. Yeah. So just like a full blockbuster of a trade, a lot of angles here. Cathryn, just start telling me what you think, because there's a lot of stuff here.
First of all, I'll start with this. There's something about this trade that is way too cute for me, and just the entire saga that led up to this. There's just something about it, and this is like just me going off here. I really believe Daryl Morey knew he was going to get James Harden,
Yeah.
And I don't think he would have had the guts to hold out as long as he did with Ben Simmons if he didn't know that James Harden was on the other end of this. I just think like, because if he doesn't get somebody of that caliber back, and he's, quote unquote, wasting a year of Embiid's prime, frankly, wasting a year of Simmons prime. You know what I mean? Like, that's another thing that people don't talk about. It's a waste of both their primes. And like, it just for what? To cater to your own ego because a couple owners are sick of player empowerment. Like, I just don't buy it. Like, I just think he knew somehow. I don't know at what point he knew. I think James Harden in the last 2 weeks vocally being unhappy for, even though what's been going on in Brooklyn has been going on since the very beginning of the season. It's all just too cute. I think Daryl knew. I really just think, I don't know if that's tampering, because tampering is usually in reference to free agency, but those two met at an NFT art gallery that Mark Cuban and Spencer Dinwiddie weren't at, and they figured this out. They figured this out and they knew. And I think it'll be a while before we know like who won the trade. Like, I think like, let's wait till the playoffs before we decide like who actually won this trade. In the short term, you gotta be, if you're a Philly person, you're a winner because you're finally over this Ben Simmons situation. But the Nets got a lot back, and I'm extremely intrigued. It's gonna make the rest of this NBA season extremely interesting, and it already was interesting, but it's like the intrigue on this is really sky high. And you're right, Freddie, it is one of the biggest trades, really.
Yeah, and just like super juicy, and great points. I totally agree with you about Harden and Morey worked together in Houston for such a long time. Morey designed a team exactly around Harden's specific skill set. When he wanted Howard out of there, he facilitated. When he wanted Chris Paul in there, he facilitated. When he wanted Chris Paul out of there, he facilitated for Westbrook. So it's like these guys have a working relationship, period, end of story. And I also think a lot of these GMs, when the prize is that big, whether it's like Kawhi or Kyle or Harden, I think they're like, what? You're going to take a second rounder from me? Buddy, I'm going to tamper more now. Like, I don't think they're afraid to tamper. So
yeah. They're not afraid. And the fines are a joke for them.
Yeah, exactly.
The fines are a joke. Tampering is basically jaywalking at this point. Tampering in the NBA.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Matt, what's your like overall feelings like on this trade? And like I want you to kind of like jump into like on court. So like not the X's and O's, but like, do you think here? Let me just spitball some starting lineups for you. So like Nets potentially, right, is Simmons, Kyrie, Seth, KD, Andre Drummond, and then you got the Sixers is like, I don't know, Maxey, Harden, Thibault, Tobias, Embiid. What, like, do you think that's all going to work? Like,
yeah, I'm definitely more intrigued. When this first happened, I was just kind of like, I don't know. It's just both these players, Simmons and Harden. It's been such a weird, sour time for them. I'm really glad the Simmons saga is over. And like just hearing all the like trade requests that Morey was making for him. And then it's like, oh, I'm just so glad it's over. And now we can see what he's really made of in like this new team and system.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to say, especially with James Harden. It's like he's really proven to me that he's kind of a weird fit in some of the way that like Westbrook is with big stars. So I think he will gel with Embiid and it'll be good, but I don't know why I'm a little bit more excited for the Nets. I think they just got so much depth on that team too, which is crazy. Like I know like Blake Griffin is an afterthought, but they got like Blake Griffin there on the bench ready to go if they need him. And it's just all like the goofy stuff with Kyrie, and it might come down to little things like that really hurt them. Like if there's a play, I really hope it's a Philly Brooklyn like second round or something.
Oh, me too. We need that.
And then what happens if Kyrie can't play like 3 or 4 of those games? You know what I mean? And then it's like that's all that's going to be talked about. And like where's Ben Simmons' free throw at right now? Has he been using this time off to make that better, or is it going to be the same ghost haunting him that happened to him in the playoffs? And kind of feels like what set this whole thing off was just how terrible he was at the free throw line. But where's James Harden going to be this time next year? I don't know. These big guys shouldn't be moving around like this. They should be the anchor of a team. They should be built around. And I know they tried to do that with Harden over the years with Houston and stuff, but it's just kind of like it's such a weird, like twister time in the NBA where all these star players are flinging everywhere, trying to mesh with other star players. And a lot of the time now it's like, you're seeing that like, oh yeah, it doesn't always work out so easily. So time will tell, as I say, but my bet is Brooklyn's going to be pretty exciting.
I just love that you called it a twister time. Shout out Bill Paxton. But dude, I mean, yeah, a bunch of good points too. And I appreciate it. Like it's really a tumultuous kind of like situation. And has Simmons been grinding it out? Like, is he ready to go? The Nets need it. They're like, they're really playing some bad basketball, and the Kyrie sideshow has not helped. KD got injured, and there's a part of me that like is like, man, Harden, this is your last chance. Like, you forced your way out of too many places, dude. But then there's another part of me that is sort of like, wait, you did force your way out of Houston. Credit there. But then when you came to the Nets, Kyrie started really going wild. And then KD gets injured, and you're looking around and you're kind of like, I did not sign up for this, And I think there's a part of that I understand for Harden, but also like with him and Embiid, I think it's clear like Embiid's the better player. So you have to acquiesce. And unlike Durant, who can play in like any type of lineup, Embiid needs specific stuff on the court. He pounds the ball, he dribbles it a ton. So you need to, I don't know, like you like, I'm very, very curious to see the fit there. I kind of think that both players are going to make the best of this short opportunity, but I mean, it's juicy all around.
Do you think that Harden's going to pass more or less with Philly?
Less.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's also the weird thing too, right? During some of like Harden's like most selfish years, he averaged like 11 and a half assists.
Right.
But also, assists aren't necessarily like a free, like, passing mentality. Like, I think,
I mean, I say less only because I feel like with Philly, I mean, obviously Joel Embiid is having like an MVP style season, and James Harden is still great when he wants to be and he isn't injured. There's just a real drop off, with that team. Like, it's just, they just don't have the depth that other teams do. And I could very easily see James Harden just wanting to take over and play a lot of ISO ball, or just a lot of like pick and roll just between the two of them, and like basically tell the other teammates to get out of the way, sort of thing. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. It's just going to be so fascinating to see how these two teams adjust. Like, I think on the Nets side, like the Seth Curry piece is a big deal. Like, I think he could give them a lot of consistency at the point where Kyrie Irving can't. And, it's going to be wild. It's just going to be wild with these two teams, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
And who knows when Simmons is actually going to start playing? That's another big part of this. When is he going to start playing? Like, he needs to get out there, man.
I know he needs to really get out. He needs to get his
like, whoa. He's
playing
actually
right now.
not ready. And it's like,
I know that shocked me. I was like, what do you mean he's not ready?
How is that possible? It's like, hello, you're talking about Drag Race before we got on the show. The late great Chi Devane. You have to stay. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons, take
RIP.
note. Yeah.
Sorry, I love how emotional that got. Like Matt threw an RIP.
Yeah,
Cathryn
look,
said, "Yeah,"
look.
Love Chi-Chi.
Yeah.
Well, I think we sort of made it to the end of the pod here. It was a really good one. I appreciate you stepping in, Matt. And
Hey,
for
of
anyone who listens to this on a regular basis, that's the kind of knowledge Matt's rolling with. Okay, he's got it locked in. He's got it locked in. Okay.
I just
Seriously,
steal everything from the guests. I just sit here and listen to guests. And
Hey, me too.
I
Okay?
think I could see Matt releasing a book called Tales of the Facts.
Yeah.
And it's just a history of facts has
You know
gone
what?
awry.
My dad had a fax machine going all the time. I do have, it is a bit of a trigger for me picking up that phone and hearing that shit going on.
It's
God,
a trigger.
yeah.
You know what? The sound of the facts, let me just say it. That's a trigger for everyone. Why does it sound like that? It's nuts. It's like so high pitched. Give me a break.
I know, like it was going.
Oh my god. Yeah, exactly. That sounds like
I mean, it
Oh my
literally
God,
sounds
like
like we're communicating with another planet.
that's the
you know,
monster
like-
from Stranger Things. Get it out of my face, Okay, yeah, that's the end of the pod. Thanks for everyone who's been listening, sharing, all that good stuff. We really do appreciate it here. And yeah, let's go to you first, Cathryn. What's up? What do you want to let people know about? Obviously check out Cathryn's pod, Buckets and Tea with Raptors Republic, and our pod together. But yeah, what's up?
Yeah, man, that's basically it. I guess I'm starting to do live shows again, so you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at itsme_Cathryn to see the latest. And yeah, just good times all around.
Good times all around. Maddie, what's up? You're a guest on the pod today. Let people know, do you need another jerry can for your snowmobile?
Yeah, just make sure that you're putting that fuel stabilizer in your snowblower. Guys, I don't want any old gas in there, okay? If you need any tips on that, just send us a message on Twitter. But I will also say thank you for listening to our bonus content that we've been putting out. Freddie and I have got another one coming up. He must be very excited because he gets to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. Mm-hmm. I get to talk about the Grizzlies. We're having a lot of fun with that. And our goal is to get through all the teams. So yeah, thanks for that. We're going to keep releasing that extra content out on the podcatchers, and eventually it'll be locked up on the old Patreon.
Ooh, with authority, Maddie D. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. And that's the pod. Maddie, if you feel like we're done and we're good to go, please just give me those delicious words. Okay.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.